What up, Cucks? It's your boy, the Hater. And I was watching some NXT. I don't know why. I was playing on my phone or something, and I just put on NXT for background noise. Or maybe I was watching a clip. I don't even remember. That's how shitty NXT is, right? But then guess what I saw, right? At some point, some tag teams, I think it was Chase U. Chase U were attacked by none other than the OC, right? This is the ultimate indignity, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the OC or the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Cucks, and Luke Gallows or Doc Gallows, whatever the hell he calls himself now. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're this legendary tag team. They obviously are not, right? They are in my opinion, a jobber tag team. I mean, let's call it like it is, right? Just because these guys had success in Japan where everyone has success. It's like Japan is like the WWE women's division. Like everyone becomes champion, you know what I mean? Oh, not everyone becomes IWGP champion. So what? Everyone else, there's like 19 titles. Go to the Wikipedia article for New Japan Pro Wrestling. You'll see there's like 8 titles, right? Then there's like 8 multiple people titles, and then there's like a trophy involved. There's like a million titles. It's like everyone gets to be champion, so it doesn't really mean anything. The fact that the Good Brothers are they're like 3 or 4 time New Japan Tag Team Champions means absolutely nothing, right? In the States where wrestling actually matters and it generates significant revenue, in the States, they're an NXT act wrestling with Andre Chase, who has no business being a wrestler at all. So there you have it, Cucks. There you have it. This goes on to my new series, I guess, because we started off with Baron Corbin, but now we got to talk about Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I mean, let's be real. These guys are boring, right? They don't have cool moves. I'll start with this simple analysis. The Magic Killer. The Magic Killer is literally Carl Anderson lifts someone into a suplex and then puts them down gently on the shoulders of Carl Anderson, and then he just kind of twists, right? So it's like Goldust's finishing move, like the final cut, except like not as impactful because he's not lifting the guy all the way up and he's not twisting them like with the momentum of the lift, right? He's laying someone down, right? It's essentially, there's no reason why it would hurt any more than a suplex, right? And here's the thing, you can make it look better. La Resistance used to do that same move, and I think it was called either the Bonne Nuit or the Bonsoir or whatever, right? Because they had 2 of them. And the way they would do it is the guy, I think it was Sylvain Grenier was the one who had the Carl Anderson role, right? He would twist into it and kind of turn it into a sidewalk slam, right? He would turn it and then he would slam the guy down. In other words, he would help Rob Conway do it, right? He didn't just stand there like an idiot and just like Carl Anderson just stands there. He's literally just a platform. Like Doc Gallows doesn't need him to do the move. He can just do it off the ropes. Right? And it's like this devastating move that nobody kicks out of in Japan, right? When AJ Styles and Tomko did the move first, I believe they invented it. They called it the Tornado Plex. The Tornado Plex, AJ Styles was the Carl Anderson. He would like jump and twist and he would make it look badass in TNA, right? So what I'm getting at here is they're just low effort, like low rent wrestlers, right? There's nothing interesting about them. Carl Anderson, I used to think he had a look because he's just like, that's like the only thing they got going for them is their look, right? And I'm not saying they look like 2 badasses, right? But they dress like badasses, right? Like, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Sean Strickland, right? His dress code is basically jeans, boots, and a white shirt, right? That's the working class attire, right? And Gallows and Anderson have a facsimile of that, if you will, right? They just wear, they wear wrestling tights, of course, but they wear just shirts, just black t-shirts, and the shirts are like badass, right? They're not like, it's not like Seth Rollins who comes out wearing a gown. You know what I mean? So that's like the only thing they have for them is that they look like 2 guys that could be 2 tough guys, right? But they don't wrestle like them, right? In fact, they're not booked like them either, right? The OC is a complete and abject failure. They've had the group come together like 15 times, and 15 times it's failed. Then they add Mia Yim for some reason, and it fails even worse, and now they're in NXT. So there you have it. It's a complete waste. Like, they got signed back from WWE. They should have stayed in New Japan, or should have at least, stuck around, I guess, in AEW, whatever the hell they're doing, right? Now, the whole point was AJ Styles and the Bullet Club, or whatever, the OC, were supposed to feud with Judgment Day, right? That's the whole point of having Mia Yim. She's supposed to be taking out Rhea Ripley. She's like she's the answer to Rhea Ripley, right? So they have 3 of them, and they got Dominic, Finn, and Damian Priest. But now the problem is AJ Styles got injured. They added JD McDonough, so the numbers aren't even. So there you have it. Who gives a rat's ass, right? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody wants to see this anymore. So, but now, unfortunately, they gave Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson like 1-year contracts, right? So, or at least, right? Probably multiple year contracts, right? So it's like they have to use them somewhere. You might as well put them in NXT. And this trend of putting people back in NXT is a horrible idea. The argument, like, and for some reason, we ignore the fact that coming back to NXT is like a clear demotion, right? So like Dolph Ziggler goes to NXT, shortly thereafter he gets released. Finn Balor goes to NXT. He gets lucky because Judgment Day starts working out, but that's not because of him. That's not because of Damian Priest, and it's not because of Rhea Ripley, right? It's because of Edge primarily, and now because of Dominic Mysterio. Another video is going to come up soon on Dominic, right? So with that being said, going back to NXT is a death knell, if you ask me, and nobody should be okay with this, let alone the wrestlers that are being pushed there, right? Now, I get it. You don't have any say. You do as you're told, right? But the point is how many, they fit in the same damn category as Baron Corbin, right? There are people that you could see a future in, right? And there's people that you don't. So, for example, I hate to bring this up, but it's true. Karrion Kross, he sucks. Everybody knows this, right? But they see something in him, right? That's why he's on SmackDown. AOP gets reintroduced, and they get put with Karrion Kross. Maybe they get signed specifically for that reason. Probably not. They probably just got signed. They're like, oh, what do we do? Put him with Karrion Kross for now until we figure something else out, right? But the point is, they don't go to NXT because they're former NXT champions. And the idea is, if you're a former NXT champion, you should be moving on. Like, for example, a great example would be Braun Breaker, right? He just moved on to SmackDown, but it's like, what? He just got signed from NXT? No, Braun Breaker should debut in a Brock Lesnar style scenario. The three jobbers are wrestling, right? And then he comes in, spears everybody, stacks them, and pins them with 1 foot. Maybe for like the like that's why they should keep the 24-hour title around, right? Like there could be like 5 people fighting for that. He just comes in, like stacks them all, right? And then pins them with 1 foot, becomes a 24-hour champion, and just keeps that for a long time. Even that title could be used to push someone. Right? Like the hardcore title was used to push people like Maven and Crash Holly, right? Like they didn't become huge stars, but Crash Holly was an important part of the Attitude Era. I would argue that he was one of the more important parts in the mid-card, right? Like he was more important than Hardcore Holly. He was more important than I don't know, Spike Dudley, right? He was more important than other people that were presented as his equals. He was definitely more important. Like, he would have pay-per-view matches. He would be wrestling. He was like on the level of like Tajiri, I would say, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is this. None of these jobbers would ever tolerate going back to NXT, right? But all of these people that were told they're supposed to be big stars, Baron Corbin beats Kurt Angle, the OC, which is one of the worst decisions ever made, the OC, whatever, Gallows and Anderson, whatever they were called at that point, they pretty much eliminate the Dudley Boys from the WWE. That's the last we've seen of the Dudley Boys in WWE. But imagine, despite the fact that the last time we saw the Dudley Boys in WWE, they were getting their ass kicked, brutally by Gallows and Anderson. Imagine if the Dudley Boys came back just for 2 weeks, right? They would be destroying the OC, right? Because despite the fact that they haven't been in the company, the OC has degraded, right? This is the point in wrestling. Everyone should be moving forward or staying static, right? If you need jobbers, hire new jobbers, right? There is no point in keeping someone like Baron Corbin around if tomorrow he's going to be a jobber again, right? You're not going to push this guy. It's never going to happen. So what's the point? I'll tell you what the point is, right? The point is actually quite simple, right? The idea should be like this. You have a funnel. You bring in a lot of people. You have the little NXT breakout tournament, right? Out of those 10 people, one of them wins, right? Then the other 9 are probably going to be jobbers. There are exceptions to the rule, of course, but generally speaking, that's how it goes, right? So this time, for example, Obafemi won. Obafemi is never going to make it. He's never going to be a big star because he just is, he's just an ugly dude, basically. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it just comes down to that, unfortunately. He's just this, big, ugly guy, and we've seen this before, like Bronson Reed, Bull Dempsey. It's you have to have some sort of aesthetic appeal to get to a certain level. You can be big and aesthetically pleasing, right? So you can be like Drew McIntyre is obviously a handsome guy. Damian Priest is obviously a handsome guy, right? Lashley, while I wouldn't say he's classically handsome, he's at least jacked, right? And he's definitely not ugly, right? So what I'm getting at here is nothing's going to come from Obafemi. So what does this say about the other 9 or whatever, 8 people that were in the tournament? Nothing. It says nothing. It says you give them a chance, right? And they have a chance to get over. If they don't get over, you get fired. It's as simple as that. And then we bring in new people, right? There's no reason why people should be building these careers as jobbers in WWE and then going to, AEW and then being I'm here now. Like Keith Lee, for example. We knew that wasn't going to work out quite early, right? As soon as he went to Raw, it's that's not going to work out. Karrion Kross, it's not going to work out. So why do they get multiple chances? Just fire them both like they did and don't hire them again, right? It's as simple as that. In order to be hired back from WWE, you should have to make significant improvements, such as the ones made by what's his face, fucking Drew McIntyre, right? But bringing Andrade back, that's just a complete waste of money. I don't care if Adam Pearce says he's one of the hottest free agents. Why? Why is he one of the hottest free agents? When you had him, he was jobbing to everybody. He was feuding with like Humberto Carrillo and Brendan Vink, who's now Duke Hudson in a comedy gimmick, right? So no, he's not a free agent. I mean, he's a free agent, but he's not a hot free agent. The idea is this: there are people that are destined to be stars, people that are not. Sometimes you don't know, so you test the waters, right? That's it. You test the waters, then you move on. Cuck. With that being said, Gallows and Anderson, my opinion, they need to go. Simple as that, cucks.